Hi besties, welcome back to Luna's bookshelf. In today's video, I'm going to do a rapid fire, not really rapid fire, but I'm going to go a little bit more faster about around all the books I read in May, June, and July. Because it's been a while since I did this, and I think it's time for another monthly/3 monthly wrap up. So let's get started. So we're going to go in chronicle order. So we're going to start with May, then June, and then July. So the first month, May, I read only 2 books. I was still in my reading slump, so it wasn't the best month, so that's kind of sad. But I did read 2 very good books. So the first book I picked up and read was The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. So before I read this book, I saw a lot of people raving about this book and how much they like this book. So it's like, I have to read it, and I got this cover, and it's so stunning. So yeah, I was very excited to read this. It was also a very interesting synopsis. So we follow, actually through letters, Sybil Van Antwerp, and she writes letters to different people, a lot of different people, and we see the letters she writes, but also the letters she receives. And I just really loved the story, and I was crying at the end, in the train as well. I just couldn't hold my tears anymore. So yeah. At first I was like, maybe it's a 5 stars, but then maybe more thinking about it, I'm going with a 4.75. I, however, did still enjoy the book, and I had a really great time reading this book. So if you haven't read this book, take this as your sign to pick this book up. Then the next book I read was also a very exciting and anticipated release for me. I've been following this author from quite some time now, and when she announced what her book was going to be about, I was just so excited. And that is Crowned and Feathers by Adriana M. Giovanni. She's a Belgian author, and so we have this English book, but there's also a Flemish, a Dutch book coming, and there's this stunning edition as well. And also the inside is so pretty. So yeah, so this is a fantasy, a YA kind of fantasy, but it's not your typical fantasy, which I really love. They're a typical love story. So we follow Yvette. I'm just going to read the back of this book because with fantasies, I notice I find it difficult to say the right amount of things so I don't spoil anything. Betrothed since childhood to secure a vital alliance for her kingdom, Yvette must abandon her secret affair with a Casa guard to marry the Prince of Elora. But when her mother dies, Yvette discovers the truth. Her bloodline bears a war-clock curse, making her politically toxic and leaving the kingdom of Ivory vulnerable to the surviving magical folk of her grandfather tried to exterminate. With her arranged marriage in jeopardy, Yvette has to choose between love and duty for her sake and Ivory's. 6 years later, that choice has become her greatest mistake. The kingdom of Ivory is at the mercy of a tyrant warlock, and Yvette must confront the dark truth about the price of love to save Ivory from the brink of destruction. She's older, wiser, angrier. There is a fine line between good and evil, and Yvette will stop at nothing to save her kingdom and reclaim her birthright, even if it means working with an unexpected ally and embracing the very magic her family spent decades trying to destroy. If this set doesn't sound very promising, so good, I don't know what is. I highly recommend reading and picking this book up. It's so good. It's very fast-paced and really gets you sucked in the story. You just want to know what is happening and everything, and the twists. I was really in between on which I should rate this, and I decided to go for 3.25 stars. So that are the 2 books I read in May. Very 2 different books. We have like more of a literary fiction and then a YA fantasy. So love to see that. Then for the month of June, I read a total of 5 books. I read 3 ebooks, so only 2 physical books, so that's very fun. So yeah. So the first book I read in June was an arc by Monica Murphy, When Sparks Fly. I really love this book, and I really had a very great time reading it. So we follow the FMC, and she is like more of, I mean, her parents are well, they have enough money, and she goes to this oh my god, So, for the month of June, I read a total of 5 books, and I did read some good books as well in June. And the first book I read was an arc I received, and that is the arc of When Sparks Fly by Monica Murphy. I had a really great time reading this book. It was a very fun romance book. And yeah, so we follow the FMC, and she goes to this like summer house at the beach, kind of, I think it is. And when she's there, she's just chilling at the house, she's in bed, and all of a sudden, the candle she lighted erupts. It's there are flames, it's a fire, she has to call the fire department. And then this guy, grumpy fire department guy, I don't know how you say it, the one who's in charge, he saves her out of the house, etc. Because she goes back in, silly girl. So yeah, and there's a whole thing going on between them. Also, she is discovering more who she is without having her family next to her and everything. And I enjoy this book very much. I think it's very quick and fun romance read to read in between, like more of a palate cleanser. I decided to give this 3.5 star just because I wasn't that hooked, and I mean, I was hooked, but I was just not, I didn't care enough about the characters. There were some things that I maybe just didn't like as much as I maybe thought I would, but still overall very good and fun romance book to read. So yeah, go check that out. The book I read after this is a book that I think everyone and the mother already read, or at least is talked about a lot, and that is Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke. So this is a book everyone's been talking about, and I was like, I need to read this book. I need to know what the hype is about, because I was just so intrigued by the plot and the synopsis. So we follow Natalie, and Natalie is like, she's an influencer, and she shows her life on the farm being a tread wife. So I was really excited to see, and then one day she comes into, like, she wakes up in another reality, but it's real, the time when tread wives are really a thing. And I mean, most of the ladies were like in that time were tread wives. So yeah, and I had a kind of a hard time reading this book. I don't know why it was, if it was because I was so kind of in my reading slump, but I just wasn't that hooked and interested and everything as everyone else was, or at least what I saw. And yeah, it kind of disappointed me. And I don't know why it was, but I mean, I know we shouldn't like Natalie, and I didn't love her, obviously, but yeah, I don't know. I just had a really hard time reading it. I do think it's a very interesting storyline, and I'm really glad I read it, but it just wasn't my favorite. I give it 3 stars. I would recommend it because I do think a lot of people would like it, but it was just not that for me, because I was interested, but not all the time. You know what I mean? So after that, because I had like difficult time picking up books, I was like, we're going to do a fun reread of a book I know I love and I've been wanting to read for a time now, and that is Funny Story by Emily Henry. I was so excited to reread this book again, because the first time I read this book, I was so obsessed with it. I read it in almost one day. Yeah, I just love Daphne and Miles. Yeah, this is obviously, again, a 6-star read for me. I just love it. And rereading this book reminded me of how much I love it. So if you haven't read this, go read it. We follow Daphne and Miles, and Daphne is engaged to Peter. And she moves to this town where Peter lives, and they live there. And then all of a sudden, Peter comes home and says, "Girl, I can't do this. I'm in love with my best friend Petra." So yeah, kind of difficult, awkward situation, because she moved her whole life to that town, and she doesn't have anything there. So yeah, so she moves out the house, and then she moves in with Miles, and Miles is the ex-boyfriend of Petra. So, funny story, right? So yeah, they get along. I mean, they don't get along from the start, and that's why I love, and it's so realistic about this book. They really, you see them growing a friendship and bonding over things. Yeah, I just really love that. As you can tell by me talking about this, I just really love this book, and yeah, I just wish I could erase this book from my memory and read it again for the first time. You know, that's how good this book is. So yeah, go read it, guys. Go read it. After that, I picked up a fun Sarah Adams book. I read The Off-Limits Rule by Sarah Adams. I read it on my e-reader. It was just a fun, typical Sarah Adams books. It's not my favorite by her, but I still liked it. It is about this girl, and she gets this kind of crush on her brother's best friend. And that's kind of the vibe, without spoiling too much. It was just a fast-paced book. I gave it 3.5 stars. Nothing more to say about that, I think. And then after that, I read a book that I did hear some, especially Sarah Caroli, rave about, and it is The X-Files by Jessica Joyce. I didn't really know what the book was about, but I was really excited to read it and see what it is about and if it is really that good. And I did like it. So we have this friend group of 3, and 2 of them were like a couple, but they've broken up, and it's kind of, they try to be okay with each other, especially for their other friends, and their mutual friend is going to get married, and they're both like the grooms, the best man, etc. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I really liked it, and it was a very fun dynamic, and how everything came together, and like seeing how she felt with everything. And yeah, I just had a really great time. And I don't think this book is talked about enough, because it's kind of, I don't know, I have the feeling it isn't talked about enough, because it's a very fun summary read as well. So I highly recommend picking this book up. I gave this book 4 stars. It is a very good romance book, and yeah, it was just very fun. I had a really great time reading that. So that are all the books of June. Now we're going to July. And little side note, I just did a readathon, which you can watch if you want, and if you haven't watched it already. And I talked about a lot of books that I read in that readathon, so I'm not going to go over them as much in depth as I did with maybe other books, because I've already talked about them. You know what I mean? So yeah, I read a total of 8 books in July, which is very good, because at the first I was still on my reading slump. I just didn't have the urge to pick up a book, and I was like, you know what, we're going to do a readathon, and that really helped me, because I am so back with reading. It's August now. It is the August 6th, because this video is going out tomorrow normally, and I've already read 3 books. I mean, one book, the book I finished yesterday, I did start like in June, but still, that's kind of crazy. So yeah, so let's go over all the books I read in July. So the first book I picked up was The Enemy by Sarah Adams. So I really love Sarah Adams. Sarah Adams, her writing is just very fast-paced. It's just, I love the fact that she doesn't have that much spice in it, because I really am noticing that I don't gravitate towards a lot of spice. I have to be really in the mood for it. So yeah, and Sarah Adams, her books are just perfect for that. So this is a second book, kind of. You don't have to read the first book, actually, after The Match. And I really love The Match. It's still like this one, but I do think I like The Match better. So in this book, we follow June, and June had this secret crush on Ryan. And Ryan, I'm just going to read it back. I'm sorry. I'm really bad at telling what the book was about. It's been 12 years since June Broden has seen her high school enemy and secret crush, Ryan Henderson. That's a long time to hold a grudge over some petty feud, but the sharp memory of him dangling a kiss at graduation, then pulling away at the last second, has fueled many angry fantasies since. Now it's a chance to get even. Ryan, along with most of their high school class, is back in town for June's best friend's wedding, and June is eager to show their former bully exactly what he's missed out on. A lot has changed since their teenage days. June is now the southern queen of gourmet donuts, not to mention one of the most desired bachelorettes in her small town. What she's not expecting, though, is for Ryan to show up looking like Adonis and touting his own career success as the youngest chef to ever win 3 Michelin stars. How dare he try to one-up her revenge plot. Luckily, June never backs down from a challenge. So I really enjoyed this book. It's also a dual POV, which is also very fun, because we get to see both of their feelings and views of how everything is happening, and I just really love that. So yeah, it's a very fun read, and it's also so short, so you will get through this very quickly. However, there were some things I just maybe missed in this book, I think. I don't know, but I really love the match and I really love the characters. And with this, I was just like, kind of not really icky, but sometimes like, June, come on, girl, let it go. So yeah, so I give this book 3.5 stars. After that, I picked up a very unexpected read. I went to the bookstore. I was looking for the Something Garden by Ashley Poston, and then they didn't have that, so I got Dungeon Crawler Carl. Very different, if you know. So yeah. So this book is more like a sci-fi fantasy book, and it's not the book I usually typically gravitate toward, but I was just so interested by what I just read a bit of. And I was like, oh my god, I just have to get it. And I loved it. I ate this book up. It was so, so good. I had the best time reading this. It is an obvious 5 star. I was like, the whole time when I was reading this is going to be a 5 star. It's so good. I just ordered book 2 and 3, and they came in the mail today, and I'm going to start later today. Going to start book 2 because I'm just so excited. So yeah. So if you don't know what this book is about, let me tell you. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to say we have Carl, we have Princess Donut, we have this like game apocalyptic kind of world we're in, and they have to complete levels. That's kind of the plot. That's kind of a little thing you have to know about this book. Yeah, just read this book. It's so fun, and I didn't expect it to like this book so much. So yeah. Then after that book, I picked up No Matter What by Carol Stone. I read Promise Me Sunshine by her last year, and I did like that book. So I was like, we're going to read your newest release, and I also saw a lot of people loving this. So I was like, let's see if I like it as much, because I did like Promise Me Sunshine, but this one, the thing is, I liked it, but also didn't like it. We follow Ross and Vin, and they went through this accident, a very heavy thing that happened in their life, and they're kind of grown apart. But we follow how one day Ross discovers all of a sudden that Vin signed a new lease. So he's like, what the hell was going on? I didn't know this would happen. And Ross, what I did like about the story is that both of them kind of found their way in an arts form to express themselves, and that I really liked. But at the same time, I mean, I'm not against miscommunication, because I love Happy Place, and a lot of people hate that book because of the miscommunication. But in this book, I think if you're married and yeah, I don't know, I think a quick conversation could have resolved a lot of things. And that's what I just didn't love about it, and I kind of missed. And like, they're adults, and I was like, just talk to each other. I mean, you're married, you're together, you live together, like, talk. And I think, yeah, I don't know, that's kind of bothered me, but I did still enjoy it. So I gave it 3.5 stars. It is a good book, and I will read other books by her because I'm interested to see if maybe other books by her I like more than this one. So yeah, I do like Promise Me Sunshine better. Then we went on with a readathon, so I'm going to go a bit more quickly over this. So the first book I read was Araya. This is by Christina de Witte. This is a graphic novel, and we follow Araya, and this is more of like a coming of age story. It's in Dutch, by the way, as well. And yeah, it was a very fun, quick graphic novel. Very glad that I decided to pick this up, and I give this 3 stars. In my reading vlog, I think I just said 3.5, but we're going with the three stars. After that, I read a book by an author I really loved last year, and that is Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan. I love how she does it every time with like, how are you going to resolve this? Because you're with like a couple, and then there's other guy all of a sudden shows up. Like, how will she do it? And she does it again, and she does it great. And yeah, that just explains her. And I love the writing style. She's kind of like a Sarah Adams to me, with the fact there's not that much spice in it, which I love. It's more like, she kind of reminds me of Emily Henry as well. So yeah, I give this book 4.25 stars. Really love this book, but there's some things that maybe were a little bit more missing. But yeah, still overall a very good summer romance book to read, so highly recommend reading it now while it's still summer. After that, I read a not so summer book, and that is A Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. I so enjoyed this book a lot. It was very fun. It is something I didn't expect to like as much. Yeah, I definitely am going to look up this author, by the way, because I love the writing style. It's so fun, and the characters and everyone. Oh my god, I just cared so much. There was just not that enough to be 5 stars, so I give this book 4.75 stars. After that, I read His and Hers by Alice Feeney, and as I said in my reading vlog, I have a very complicated relationship with that book, because I did like it for a great half of the book, but then something happened, and I was like, did this have to happen? Was that necessary to happen? So yeah, I kind of felt a little bit awkward towards that. So yeah, so I give this book 3 stars just because of, I don't know how to feel about it, you know. And then finally, the best book I read in July, no, alongside with Coral, Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. If you see my video, you saw me crying. I mean, I really like and love Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing style, and I knew it was going to be good, but I don't know it was going to be that good. I had very high expectations about this book. The expectations were okay. It was grounded. It was such a fun. Was it fun? Because I cried a lot. But it was a fun and good and a just so beautiful story. And if you haven't picked this book up, go do it right now. Go read this book. It's so good. You will care about space. You will care about all of these characters you didn't expect to care about. So yeah, that were all the books I read in May, June, and July. So we had some great books I read. We have 2 new 5-star reads, which is amazing. We love that for me. So yeah, let me know what your favorite book was of the month of July. We're going to be a little bit more recent. So what was your favorite book of July, and what is on your August TBR? Let me know that as well. I hope you guys liked the video, and like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!